So I'm glad that I had the opportunity to be together. We're going to make some cheesecake today. My name is Chef Martin Gilligan. I'm the department chair here at Los Angeles Trade Tech. And let's get right into it. Let's talk a little bit about the ingredients that we need for cheesecake. So obviously we need some good high quality Philadelphia cream cheese. We need some sour cream. Sour cream is kind of like the key ingredient that kind of gives it its little bit of a zing, a savory zing, along with the sweet sugar. Plenty of sugar, right? And then we have the vanilla. I'm using a vanilla bean paste actually. You can actually see the little tiny little seeds of vanilla inside there, which is amazing because you'll actually see that throughout your cheesecake. And then we're just going to use some eggs. That's it. Now we're going to make the crust first. So the crust, I actually have graham crackers, crushed up graham crackers. In your recipe, I have, it's some chocolate cookies. You can crush those up. Any kind of crumbs work really well. So I love like an Oreo cookie crumb, but obviously don't use the center cream part, just the outer cookie part. And you can crush them up in a food processor or whatever it is. These are just plain graham crackers that again have been crushed up in a food processor. Or you can actually just buy cookie crumbs at most stores, right? You're gonna add a little bit of sugar to this. In your recipe, I have given you the breakdown of a good amount of crust. So go ahead and add your sugar, and then we're gonna go ahead and start to add our butter. Now, when we add our butter, we're gonna add about half first. I've melted this in a pot on the stove just until it's melted, and then I get in there with my hands. I get a gloved hand on, and I just go ahead and I just mix. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to saturate those crumbs so that they absorb that butter. And that'll evenly distribute the sugar. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to see where when it comes to when you can squeeze it together and it'll stay together. All right, so I'm not there yet. So I'm going to go ahead and add another 1/3 of the butter and continue to mix. And again, squeezing to see if it'll come together. And I'm almost there. I am about a tablespoon of butter away from being there. What you don't want to do is have too much butter, and then if you have too much butter, it kind of gets soggy and it's not as crisp. So you want just enough butter to make it hold together, and that's it, no more. All right, so okay. And again, the graham cracker crumbs are the classical New York style cheesecake. My background is, many of you know already, but my background is I'm from New York, right? So I talk funny. I say things like chocolate, sauce, coffee, water. It's funny because people say that, well, let me just say that, when a horse is born, it automatically knows how to walk. It's kind of wobbly, but it automatically knows how to walk. Well, they say that people in New York, they're born, they already know how to make cheesecake. I have no idea why that is, but no, that's supposed to be funny. Anyway, so now I got a good springform pan here, and people say you gotta grease it. I don't even grease it. I don't do any of that, all right? I just go ahead and take the springform pan, make sure it's really, really clean, and then I put in my graham cracker crumbs, depending on how thick of a crust you want, and you just push it in, and what you'll do is literally just pat it down with your hands, right? Just gotta get in there, and you just kind of pack it in. I purposely made the recipe offer a little bit extra graham cracker crumbs, and I know that you guys are teaching, many of you at the high school level or middle school level or whatever, and I wanted to make sure that I gave you the opportunity to create these recipes in a setting that would enable you to be start and finish before your period is over. So I don't know if it's hour period or 45 minutes or maybe 90 minutes or whatever. So what I've done also is I've also offered you guys the opportunity to make it in these like little aluminum foil cups that you can literally get in like Smart Final or wherever you get your products from. So what I did was I went ahead and pushed that down. You can see it's all nice and pushed down in there. And I've done a couple of them like this. Let me show you how I did that. So I just took about a tablespoon, maybe a little more than a tablespoon, and I placed it in the bottom. Then I'll take another cup, place it on top, and just pack that down, right? So again, there's one. Let's do a few. We'll do 4. 2. Right. And you can put more than a tablespoon, depending on how much crust you like. And again, the crust gives a balance, you know, because that cheesecake, when you eat it, has that creamy kind of a melt in your mouth kind of a texture. And you want to give a little bit of a crisp crunch to it as well. So this way you have that balance of texture, right? People say instead of adding the white sugar, you can actually add a little bit of brown sugar, and that works as well. People actually put a little bit of cinnamon in there or nutmeg in there or whatever. I'm just saying classical New York style cheesecake, it's just butter, a little bit of sugar, and graham cracker crumbs. That's it. In order to be able to transport it over to the oven, I'm just going to set them on this tray here. Okay? Very careful not to bump it. Because once it's packed, you want to keep it as packed as possible. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to walk over to our oven. So we have the Rational convection oven, which is amazing. We'll go ahead and set this in here. I have the fan on, so it is a convection oven right now. The combi means that it's a steamer and an oven all at the same time. So I can have combination heat and steam, but right now I only have it on just on the 100% heat, right? And I have it on 350 degrees. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set this for about 10 minutes. All right, and then I'm gonna turn the fan down just so I don't blow those aluminum foil cups all over the place. That's it. So now it'll ring after 10 minutes. All right, so now I have the remainder of my ingredients. I have my cream cheese, I have my sugar, I have my eggs, and I have my sour cream. And what I'm gonna do is, and in your recipe packet, I've given you a lot more varieties of cheesecake that you can try out with your class, right? But what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna cut up the cream cheese into smaller, manageable chunks. And I'm gonna toss them into a bowl of a stand-up mixer with a paddle attachment, right? So we're gonna go ahead and just turn this on low. Pick it up. We're gonna add our pieces of cream cheese. So you can actually allow your cream cheese to come down to room temperature. And the key with a good cheesecake is that you get your cream cheese nice and smooth. All right, that is the key. All right, the number one mistake my students make is that they still have lumps of cream cheese throughout. And that will create an environment within your cheesecake where you have some hot spots. You have spots that are conducting heat at a higher rate than other spots. And so, again, we're gonna go ahead and just add all of our cream cheese in there. And we're gonna crank it up. Make sure you have it locked in. That bowl has a tendency to jump with something as dense as cream cheese in there. And you wanna make sure you have a nice, firm rubber spatula nearby, right? You're gonna scrape it down like 4 or 5 times. Okay? All right? And then you're gonna pull it off all the way to make sure that you get all of it scraped off. Scrape it all down. You don't want to add any other ingredients until your cream cheese is beginning to get smooth. And then you can only add your sugar until it's completely smooth. And then that's when you go ahead and add your other ingredients like your eggs and your sour cream. If you add those eggs and sour cream too early, again, those cream cheese lumps will never disappear. They'll stay in there forever, okay? So again, we're gonna scrape it down once. So about medium speed, going from slow to medium to high, just making a decision, wanting to make sure that the cream cheese gets nice and smooth. That's the goal. Gotta take your time with it. If you don't scrape it down, and scrape it down again, and then scrape it down again, you're not gonna have a successful cheesecake. It's the key. You could do this, probably it'll take the full 10 minutes that the graham cracker crumbs take to cook in the oven, right? And scrape it down. So doing the videos via Zoom is not something that a lot of us like, right? We're struggling, some of us, and one of the reasons why is I interact with the students so well. I feed off them, you know, their energy really, really motivates me and kind of gets me going, you know, and literally, even though you're there, I feel like I'm all alone, right? You know what I mean? Everyone knows what I'm talking about. So I can't wait till this pandemic is over and we get back to in-person learning and teaching. All right, so I'm scraping. This is the 3rd time I'm scraping. Really, chef? You have to scrape 3 times? If you can scrape 5 times, 6 times even. All right, you want to make sure you get all of it. The worst thing that could happen is that you don't scrape all the way off the bottom and you have some of that cream cheese stuck on the bottom there, and then you go ahead and add your remaining ingredients, and then though the lumps come off the bottom, and then they are throughout the cheesecake later on, and you have cracks, and the cheesecake really just it's not smooth. So again, it's the scraping that is the key to success. All right, at this point, I've scraped down 3 times. I'm gonna go ahead and add my sugar now. So I'm gonna go ahead and add my sugar. We say that in New York, we say go ahead. So I'm gonna go ahead and add my sugar a little bit at a time, probably maybe a 1/4 cup, then a 1/4 cup more, then a 1/4 cup more, which is probably about half my sugar total now. Right? And then I'm going to stop it again, and I'm going to scrape it down again. Scraping it down now. I have half the sugar in there now, so you can actually, when pastry chefs add sugar to a recipe, it's just as if they're adding a liquid ingredient. So basically, when you start to add your sugar, it'll actually make the cream cheese even softer, right, and more liquid. Sometimes I have at home, I have my KitchenAid mixer at home, and that it actually has the rubber attachment on the paddle, right? So it has a little piece of rubber over here. If you have that, that's amazing. That's the ticket for a quality cheesecake, right? Get that other paddle. I'm going to continue with my mixing. I'm almost there now as far as making the cream cheese completely smooth. I'm going to go ahead and add the remaining 1/4 cup. I got maybe 2 more 1/4 cups of, there we are. A little bit faster, buffed in here. All right, we're getting nice and soft now. And then the remainder of my sugar. I'm just gonna let it go for a minute. I'm feeling the bottom of the bowl because I want to feel how cold that bowl is, right? Again, if you start with room temperature cream cheese, it's gonna go a little faster. My cream cheese was like a little bit lower than room temperature this morning. And all right, now I'm gonna shut this off. I'm gonna scrape again one more time. All right, so now you can see how it's getting nice and smooth, right? Cream cheese is getting nice and smooth with that sugar in there. Make sure you get all off the sides, all the way off the bottom, okay? There we go. And so, it's nice and smooth now. And make sure that we get all the cream cheese in there. All right, and then we're gonna continue again. And I'm gonna continue to add my ingredients slowly, right? We're gonna add my vanilla next. And again, this is a vanilla bean paste. If you're gonna use the vanilla bean paste, use about half the amount I told you in the recipe. I'll give you guys a different, another updated recipe by the time we meet. It gets a little bit sticky. And then I'm gonna go ahead and continue to start adding my sour cream. So about 1/3 of the sour cream. About 1/3 of the sour cream. And then the rest of the sour cream. All right. Now, here we go. So now it's really, really smooth now because I added that sour cream, right? I want to make sure that I scrape it again. This is like the 6th time I've scraped it now. All right, so once I've done that, now I can start adding my eggs. Definitely don't want to start adding your eggs before everything is completely smooth. Bring it up. All right, and now I'm going to start adding my eggs. So I have my eggs here. I'm going to crack them one at a time so I can make sure that there's no shell in there, no blood in there. Make sure that it's a pristine egg. Once I do that, I'll go ahead and add that one egg at a time, all right? Wait till that egg's completely incorporated before I add the next egg. So if you want to crack an egg with I tell my students, if you want to crack an egg with one hand, you hold it like your Kevin Kershaw of the Dodgers, and you hold it like that with like a 2-finger fastball, and then you crack it, and then you can open it like that. So, all right. And we're gonna go ahead and add the next egg. Yes, I can add an egg and hold one back, yes. All right. Now that I've added half my eggs, I'm gonna scrape it again. Really, Chef? Scrape it again? Yes, we're gonna scrape it again. Can't scrape it too many times, right? So, and again, the scraping process is pull everything off of the spatula or the paddle attachment, and then get in there and make sure you get all the way down to the bottom, making sure that there's no lumps of cream cheese stuck to the bottom of the bowl. All right, we're there. We're about 2 minutes away from being perfect cheesecake batter, right? Okay, one more time. Okay, crank it up. And here we go. And one more egg and the last egg. I've cut this recipe down just slightly from the one I gave you. It's actually about 2/3 of the recipe. The reason why is I wanted to make sure we did it with small little mixing bowl. You can actually do a full batch in the mixing bowl. It just gets a little bit cumbersome at the end. All right, so last egg. All right, we don't want to overmix this. Maybe another minute or two, because otherwise you'll actually souffle out the eggs later, and then it'll kind of rise in your pan. And what you want to do is you want to open the oven and you want to check them to make sure that they are nice and golden brown and that they're crispy, right? Aluminum foil doesn't conduct heat very much, so I can actually touch them with my fingers, even though they're coming out of the 350-degree oven. The aluminum foil is fine. So I have I have 4 of these. Okay. And then I have, oh, this is beautiful. Look at how beautiful that is, right? So we'll transfer it to a tray, and then we'll be able to carry them all together. Now I'm going to set my oven, and notice I have a sheet tray in the bottom of the oven, and the reason why is because I'm actually going to use a double bath, a water bath. Now with this oven, I literally don't need a water bath. I could actually set the steam setting to 35%. It would be perfect, but in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the way I would do it if I was in your classroom in a regular conventional oven or conventional oven in your classroom. So I'm going to set up a sheet tray like that. Then I'm going to turn my oven down to 250 degrees Fahrenheit. 250 degrees. You don't want to go any higher than that. It doesn't seem like it's very high at all. It's a very, very low oven or moderate oven. But we're going to go ahead and just turn it all the way down to 250. I'm going to continue this on continuous. All right, and I'm also going to turn the fan all the way down as well. So, fan all the way down. So, okay, so now it's a conventional oven basically at 250 degrees. Oh, it's still warm. I'm going to just pour in the cheesecake batter right now, even into the warm pan. It's going to be fine. Now I'm going to making sure that everything is really, really well mixed here. I'm just going to go ahead and pour in my cheesecake batter into the smaller. I want it to be about 3/4 of the way up. You can actually put less if you have like more students that you need to feed or whatever. You can make it even halfway up or whatever. It's just going to be a shallower cheesecake. I like the big, nice, high cheesecakes like you'd get at Cheesecake Factory or in New York at a nice deli in New York. All right. Okay, so then the remaining is going to go right into my big one. Right into the big one. I'm going to set my oven. It's going to take about 90 minutes. Anywhere between 60 to 90 minutes. So I'll set it at 60 minutes and then I'll go back and check. So maybe what you can do with your class is you can maybe get one going ahead of time before your students arrive. Your students can make one, and then while theirs is baking, you can pull out the one from the previous period or whatever. It's up to you. You got to get creative, you know, when you're teaching multiple periods in one day. All right, so we're going to go ahead and take this and we're going to bring it over to the oven. I'm going to set it right inside the pan. And again, what you're trying to do is just create some steam in the oven. So that's why we're gonna add some water to it. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab, instead of trying to bring the sheet tray to the oven and get water everywhere, I'm just gonna go ahead and pour some water into the tray. And no deeper than maybe a quarter of an inch deep, perhaps. And the water should be hot water. Remember, it's a springform pan. You don't want it too high. It'll sometimes leak into the springform pan and stuff. But again, it's just creating a moist environment in the oven, and that's going to enable the cheesecake to cook slowly. What I do is, after I let the cheesecakes cool a little bit, what I'm going to do is I'm going to decorate the cheesecakes, right? So what I've done with this one is I've actually taken the cheesecake and cooled it down, and then I made a ganache, and I just poured it over the top of the cheesecake and allowed that to set up, and then I went ahead and cut it. So you can see that. I went ahead and poured over the ganache. We're going to talk about ganache when we get into the chocolate. So I'll show you that. But these are the individuals. I made them, again, a little bit shallower because I wanted to feed a lot of students, right? So make them a little bit shallower. And again, this one has the ganache on top. Let me show you how we're going to decorate this. So to take this one here, and you notice how I've done it already on the bigger one there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take some strawberries, and I've washed them and cut the tops off, right? I have some raspberry puree or strawberry puree. If you don't have any raspberry puree, the store-bought kind or whatever, you can actually just make it. It's literally raspberries, sugar, a little bit of water, brought to a boil, blended in a Vitamix blender or whatever, right? So, okay. So we go ahead and just place like a tablespoon on top of each one. Wasn't this a song from the 80s? Raspberry puree, the kind you find in a secondhand store. Oh no, that was raspberry beret. Oh my goodness. Chef, should you give up cooking for comedy? No, I don't think so. All right. So again, we're just gonna go ahead and put some raspberry puree. Again, strawberry puree, whatever you want. Use a spoon, get a little bit more, a little bit cleaner or whatever, but I'm just rushing it. Here we go. All right, and then we're just gonna place our strawberries on top. So one strawberry per, and the raspberry puree actually acts like a little bit of a glue on there, using the bigger ones. You can actually slice the strawberries and place them on top, or you use your imagination. You get your students to use their imagination during the decoration process. Everybody loves to decorate, right? That's the artistic part of it. So when we're in the kitchen, we are scientists and we're also artists, right? So there we go. All right. Okay. And then once you have everything kind of decorated, like for example, I have this one decorated. This one has strawberry puree and not raspberry puree. What I did was I took a little bit of apricot preserves and I mixed it with a little bit of water. And I brought it to a boil. And so I'm just going to use a regular brush. And again, you can buy raspberry preserves in any supermarket. Or you could use strawberry preserves even, why not? I just want more of a clear, shiny gel coating on the outside. So again, just get a little bit on the brush and then we're just gonna brush it on here. All right, and that'll actually prevent dehydration of the strawberry, so it'll actually stay in your refrigerator a little bit longer with the coating of preserves on the outside. And it'll give the ooh and the ah and the wow factor. Everybody say ooh, ah, wow. A little shine. All right. And I have a plate here. This one I have mango, a little mango sauce, a little mango puree. I get these, the perfect purees. We purchased them already frozen. But again, you can just take mango, a little bit of sugar, and a little bit of water, and just go ahead and blend it up. Some people like to add a tiny bit of cornstarch slurry to prevent weeping on the plate. So, and then take my Set that inside the sauce, and now I have like real fruit. Take another strawberry, and slice it. You put some mint leaves in there, or whipped cream, or whatever you want, and have a beautiful cheesecake dessert that you tell your students you could charge, $20 for, right? $19.95. We're at the oven now, and what we want to do is we want to check to make sure that it's done. Now, the thing about making sure that it's done is it should be kind of jiggly, like wong, but not too jiggly. Because if it's too jiggly, that means it's not done on the inside and your eggs are still kind of raw in the middle. You're going to have some carryover baking, but what you want to do is you want to make sure that you're completely cooked. So you want it to be kind of like wong, set, Now the thing about doing it in the smaller aluminum little cartons is that it'll bake in like 15 minutes. So you can do that for your kids, right? At the high school level or whatever, right? So anyway, so I'm gonna go ahead and check. I'm gonna show you how we check. So I'm just gonna grab one and I'm gonna pull it out. Make sure I shut the oven not to let the heat escape. And I'm gonna go ahead and just jiggle it. Now you can see how it's jiggling, and now it's not raw in the middle, right? How it's a nice jiggle, right? That means that it's perfect. All right, what is it? The thumbs up emoji, right? Okay, so thumbs up emoji. We're gonna go ahead and pull out the other ones. And again, these were what? 15 minutes, 15 minutes. So perfect for your classes at the high school level. If you do the big cheesecake, again, it's gonna be a long time. It's gonna bake a long time, and then it's gonna have to cool a long time too. So again, it'll be 15 minutes bake, and then about 15 minutes or 20 minutes of a cool down, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and take it, and we're gonna put it over here. So now I'm gonna put it in my dairy refrigerator, which is really, really cold. It's like 36 degrees. And I'm gonna just place that in there. And again, about 15 minutes later, it's gonna be perfect, right? So it'll be nice and cool. So, and again, you don't wanna, they'll pop out easy once they cool down. You can actually freeze them again, and you can hold those for like, even up to 6 months, as long as they're wrapped really tight. So you can do this in advance. For example, when we were at the Four Seasons Hotel, we would do cheesecakes like 2-3 times a month, that's it. And then we'd have enough cheesecake for all the events, right? So we'd make like 75, 80 cheesecakes all at one time. It's been about an hour and 15 minutes. So we want to check this out at this point. We're dealing with the big cheesecakes. Again, you want to make sure that it's cooked all the way through. Again, one of the reasons why we go so low with the temperature, keep the temperature pretty much at like 250, is because of the fact that you want that even cooking. You want it to heat to penetrate slowly all the way to the center of the cake. And again, what you're trying to do is coagulate those the albumins in the egg, right? So let's check it out. So again, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and pull this out. Notice how a lot of the water has evaporated away. So we're going to pull this out just a little bit. You're going to just reach in, just grab the cheesecake. And I'm going to bring it over here. Notice how there's no browning on it at all. It hasn't really souffled out or anything like that, but notice how it's still a little bit jiggly like that. So that is actually a little bit too jiggly. I can actually see that in the inside it's still kind of liquid. So I'm gonna go ahead and make the decision as a chef right now. I'm gonna make the decision to go ahead and put this in for another 15 minutes, all right? So I'm gonna, again, place it back in. Again, we have enough water in that pan. And again, the water in the pan is not necessarily gonna be preventing the cheesecake from cooking too rapidly. The heat in the oven at 250 is going to do that. But what it's going to do is it's going to make the environment in the oven a little bit more moist. So again, you're not going to get a skin on top of your cheesecake, and then also you're not going to get any browning on top of your cheesecake. So the alarm is going off in the oven, so 15 minutes additional has elapsed. We're going to go ahead and pop it out. We're going to check one more time, right? So same as before. Very carefully reach in, grab that cheesecake, and we'll give it a little jiggle. So as you can feel, that's much firmer than it was even 15 minutes ago, right? So, all right. So again, there's going to be some carryover baking, so you don't want to put that in the refrigerator right away or anything like that. You want to just gently leave that on the counter, maybe on a rack or something like that.